Hello everyone, 5 heroes you should be trying to get in every single game of Squad Busters. And the last one was one that I didn't start using until today, thanks to your guys' recommendations. Before we jump into it, I want to say I am going to try to do a community post every single morning. I think these things are fun and there's actually a lot of valuable information to get from. Today's was who would you pick first if you had to choose between Bo, Colt, or Greg, and out of 635 votes I think it was, people chose Greg on this one. And I was actually surprised how many people aren't really crazy about Greg, and that's actually the first hero we're going to be going over today that you should be trying to grab in every single game mode. Now, I'm not saying going and grabbing all 5 of these heroes and grabbing them straight in a row, building your team just on those 5. Pick them as you see fit inside the game, but they definitely are going to make a great addition to your team. Now, if Greg is your first pick inside the game, you gotta be careful because anybody can come in and snipe you if they're running a Colt or Shelly, and it can go terribly bad for you. But if you go and chase over to that first tree, start thwacking away at it, this one here, I grabbed 9 coins and 3 gems out of it. Now, you can do a lot with 9 gems, especially starting off in the game. I don't know if I necessarily go and try to get Greg up to 3 stars, but still. Build a couple of heroes, defend yourself, and if you're able to start controlling the trees inside the game, especially in the middle, especially if you do get Greg fuse, it's one hit and you're collecting a ton of currency. Now, to be honest with you, I am fixated on Colt. He's actually not one of the 5 ones you should grab every single game. He is a solid hero, but it's just something that I have a tendency to grab because I like the power of him. But there is a lot of other strong heroes inside the game that could replace Colt if you don't see him. But whereas Greg has a certain utility, and as I said, those trees are able to give a good amount of currency, it's a solid hero to pick inside the game. The next hero is going to be Medic, and definitely don't pick this one first. Not a strong starter inside the game, even though it is a ranged hero, this is a great one to grab maybe after your 2nd or 3rd fusion inside the game. The fact that you can just usually stand still when fighting enemies and you're just sitting there and tanking it all, not really having to worry about the damage because you're healing yourself up. Now, I wouldn't just go and take 2 fuse hero and a medic and fight the strongest enemy inside the game, but once you get up to that point, having that medic just constantly healing feels so good. I was a little bit hesitant to say this one and maybe the battle healer because I do like that extra HP boost you get, but really when it comes down to it, I'm a fan of the medic and I find this a solid healer inside the game. The next one is going to be the Wizard, and specifically when you unlock that 2nd spell slot. Being able to hold on to 2 spells inside the game has been a huge game changer for me. It can be a little bit tricky though with the positioning of the buttons to go and swap between the 2, so you'll use whichever one you want to use first. I do find myself triggering it on a lot of times where I didn't want to trigger it, but that's just the way it is. I gotta get better at my finger placement and what I'm smashing when going into it. But there's so much utility when you have that 2nd spell. Throwing 2 bombs out there, a bomb and a heal, a bomb and a lightning. I think the next post we're going to put tomorrow on the community post will be something related to the spell. So like I said, if you're interested in that, find it, comment on it, pick which one you think is best. But the fact that I can go and use 2 spells, I always like to at least try to have one of them as a bomb, but just imagine being able to slow them with the freeze spell, even go and shrink them with, I think it's the shrink spell there, or even knock them back, use a lightning, and then once they're kind of flustered and, stunned, then smack them with that bomb. It's such a great way to go. It really does put enemy players in just a spot where they're like, oh man, I got played on that one. It is something I do all the time. The 4th one is going to be the tank, and specifically when tank is inside a tank. This is what I try to get no matter whatever game it is, in the fact that people are always going to have megas, and if you ever notice, the megas typically kind of lead the path of the group of army that they're in, so there's a good chance that when they show up to you, that tank's going to be making those big hits and doing some decent damage. Now, if you are able to get 3 of them and get them fused, that's a pretty big hit. I think it was something like 1100, 1200, somewhere around there that a single hit does. So just imagine that going and taking half of the health away from that mega. There have been times that I have grabbed this first and ran to the middle, although I wouldn't really suggest it. I would say build yourself up a little bit, and once you are in the middle and close to those tanks, then that's a good time to grab it. The other thing I really like too is when that tank does explode, usually that tank hero is still sitting around and you can usually just toss her in another tank and be right back at it. And the last one is not one that I really use too much. I think I ranked it pretty low on the tier list that I made for World 3, and that's going to be the Hawk. And specifically the reason behind this is if you want to chase down a hero or run away from a hero, having that extended speed of your boosts are going to last longer, or even the fact that if you run through some grass, you're going to get a little initial boost too. These are great for escaping and attacking other players. I tend to play a little aggressively, and I get myself in some pretty bad situations where it's like, oh, that wasn't a good idea. I better get the heck out of there, and I'm the one getting chased out. So I am finding that going and using the Hog is a great way to do it. Not to mention, there's a lot of bots still right now in the squad league inside the game. Once Global comes out, that'll be fixed, but sometimes I just want to chase some things down, crush them, get the advantage over the other players, and take that first place spot. Now this is all just my personal opinion, what I'm trying to go for inside the game. I'm still building my bows, my cults, even going and grabbing the archer queen, the witch. They're all heroes that I like, but eventually it comes to a point where I need to have a little bit of utility in there to really maximize what I'm going to do inside the game. If you guys want to know where I ranked the Hog Rider on that tier list and all the other ones I ranked at 2 stars in World 3, take a look at this video right here. Thanks for watching, and remember, I pick my butt.